Joining me now to discuss the latest developments in Ethiopia is Ethiopian Ambassador Seleshi Bekele. Ambassador, thank you so much for making the time during this busy period. First of all, how is your office reacting to the news that the TPLF, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, have restarted war in northern Ethiopia?
Thank you, Hermela, for inviting me. This is unfortunate development that we are encountering in Ethiopia, in the northern part of Ethiopia. In the morning of August 24, TPLF launched an extensive offensive, reigniting the conflict and violating the humanitarian truce and the temporary ceasefire. Unfortunate, we received the news and with such disappointment actually. So as the government Ethiopia is encountering this prior to the conflict, this third round conflict, the government has taken several confidence building measures, as you know, and as you are following. And this was with the intention of completely resolving the conflict in the region. The declaration of indefinite humanitarian truce is one indicator. That was on March 24, about exactly 5 months ago, and allowing unfettered humanitarian access to the Tigray region, and further working on establishing a permanent ceasefire and a peace talk. So the peace talk would have really give a lot of opportunity to resolve any outstanding issue. The government's commitment was announcement was to talk anywhere, anytime, and immediately, without putting any preconditions. So this was not accepted by TPLF apparently, and then they started the attack again. The Ethiopian troops, Ethiopian government that is known is not entering Tigray region at all. So the conflict started again in Amhara and Afar region.
There seems to be an incredible amount of restraint that is exhibited by the Ethiopian government. Since April, according to the World Food Program, humanitarian aid has been flowing into Tigray. And yet what we saw yesterday is that the TPLF militants stormed into a warehouse and actually stole 12 fuel tankers. And we saw today the communications department or communications ministry in Ethiopia report that some UN staff were arrested that were resisting that looting. What do you make of that?
That is really outrageous. This humanitarian support is well coordinated with the Ethiopian government and the international community like World Food Program, USAID, and so on, delivering this assistance. Fuel was a question. Previously, the Ethiopian government was supplying. It was alleged that it was not adequate, and then through the UN system and third parties, additional fuel was transported, and this was expected to be utilized to distribute humanitarian assistance in Tigray region so that the suffering of people will reduce, if not completely removed, because the complete peaceful situation can come through peace talk and permanent ceasefire. However, this is, as it is reported by UN officials, it is looted about over 500 liters of 500,000 liters of fuel. This is very disappointing, actually. So this was also reported from the government side on these incidents.
Fuel seems to be consistently a big deal. I remember around this time last year when about 500 UN trucks went missing, what the TPLF said then as the reason why those trucks hadn't returned was a shortage of fuel. We recently saw the United Nations World Health Organization had also make that claim that fuel shortage was hampering humanitarian aid distribution. Today, in that same statement from the Ethiopian Ministry of Communication, they debunked that claim and saying that the recent fuel tankers that were taken actually proved that there wasn't a lack of fuel. So it doesn't seem crazy to ask that the TPLF is claiming a shortage of fuel because they intended to use that fuel to fight this war.
It's very obvious, false informations are disseminated always. However, as you rightly pointed out, the fuels are there. Fuels are supplied in adequate quantity to distribute humanitarian assistance for the people in need. But this was deliberately prevented from being used and stored somewhere in Mekelle, and then ultimately that blockage is actually designed to utilize it to the purpose of war. That is completely unfair and against the people of Tigray. There are so many people in need. We have to resolve this issue, but always there is no preparedness actually to peaceful settlement of the conflict from the TPLF side.
Absolutely. This time last year, we found that there was double the amount of fuel that was needed to return those 500 trucks. And yet, a year later, we are back on this issue where the TPLF is claiming fuel shortage. There doesn't seem to be enough effort on the part of the UN before all of this happens that to debunk that claim. Even now, we're seeing, including from the Secretary of State's office, this sort of both sidesism that's not really acknowledging the resistance from the TPLF to go to the negotiation table. And I saw that you responded to the Secretary Blinken, just kind of making it clear who's the aggressor and who's looking to move forward to peace. So from your position, and I know it's not an easy one during this time as an ambassador, how do you see the fact that there's still both sidesism within the international community?
Well, on the trucks issue, Ethiopia was always reporting that the government was reporting there are missing trucks and so on. Surely they were used for the purpose of the war. That is not appropriate, and the UN should have made those things accountable. This time, a little bit clarity is provided through the UN, and the missing fuel and the looted fuel is reported, and it's all over in the international media. However, instead of trying to balance things, it's important always to clearly explain who's making trouble in this front, and who is not willing to come and sit down and discuss and resolve the issue. On government side, it's very obvious. There is an offer and preparedness to peace talk by establishing a peace committee led by the level of deputy prime minister and foreign minister, and clearly articulated the roadmap how to address various issues and how to implement the peace process discussion. But from the TPLF side, what you always hear is in the media is practically a no statement. A no statement means rejecting African Union, which is a legitimate continental organization, rejecting or not even announcing their peace committee members. Government is committed in various ways, not only trying to restore, humanitarian assistance and services in whatever possible means, except those difficult ones. Has also established the National Dialogue Commission to resolve the broader context of Ethiopia's challenge. So all these are not recognized and not utilized by TPLF side, and not working adequately in a reciprocal way. The international community should understand that and basically push TPLF to sit down and bring peace to the region and to broader Ethiopia.
And Ambassador, before I let you go, I mean, it's very clear that the TPLF is not looking to move to peace. As we have laid out here, what is the stance of the Ethiopian government at this point? Is it willing to consider to go into Tigray, or what is being talked about at this stage?
Ethiopian government has no intention at all to go to Tigray to fight. It's important to resolve the differences through sitting down and resolve issues in a peaceful way. There are, of course, challenging issues. Those challenging issues can only be resolved through dialogue, through discussion, through finding a true mechanism, a win-win solution, not by coercing or trying to topple government or this kind of an impossible thing that will lead to bloodshed. So this recognition must be there through the international community and the government's commitment still. Yesterday it was about peace, today it is about peace, tomorrow also about peace. Even when TPLF renegated to the region, always offer was for peace, to discuss and resolve issues instead of going to war. So still the commitment is there.
Great, Ambassador. I know it's a busy time. Thank you so much for making the time. Ambassador Seleshi Bekele, Ethiopian Ambassador to the U.S. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Please remember to hit subscribe, and please consider supporting independent journalism by going to patreon.com/HermelaTV and becoming a member. Thank you so much for your support.